Are your relationships holding you back? Hey there, pause. Have you ever stopped to think about the people in your life and wondered, are they really helping me grow? Or are they holding me back, keeping me stuck in the same old patterns? It's a heavy question, I know, one that might stir up some uncomfortable feelings, but stick with me, because today we're diving deep into something that could change the way you see your relationships forever. We're talking about the Stoic way of building connections, relationships that don't just feel good in the moment like a fleeting warm breeze, but actually make you a better, wiser, stronger version of yourself. The ancient Stoics, like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, had a lot to say about this, and their wisdom still rings true centuries later. They believed that the people around you should lift you up, challenge you to be your best self, and help you live a life of virtue, where you're constantly aiming for wisdom, courage, and justice in everything you do. But what happens when that's not the case? What do you do when a friendship, a partnership, or even a family tie starts to drag you down instead, pulling you away from the person you're trying to become? I'm going to take you on a journey through 5 key signs that your relationships might be out of balance. Signs the Stoics would say you can't ignore if you want to live a good life, a life that's aligned with purpose and meaning. We'll explore each one through their lens, diving into what they taught about human connection and how it shapes who we are. I'll also share some personal stories from my own life to show you what this looks like in the real world, because I've been there, feeling stuck, unseen, or undervalued, and I know how heavy that can feel. Along the way, I'll give you practical steps you can take to either fix things or, if needed, move on with clarity and confidence. By the end of this, you'll have a clear roadmap for creating relationships that align with Stoic wisdom, connections that don't just coast along but help you flourish, not flounder, as you navigate life's ups and downs. So, if you're ready to unlock the secrets of better relationships through ancient philosophy, let's dive in. This isn't just about looking back at what the Stoics said, it's about bringing their ideas into your life right now, using them to build bonds that make you feel alive and inspired. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're on a journey to grow wiser together, and I'd love for you to join me as we explore these timeless lessons. Let's get started with our first sign. When growth stops, pause. Because the Stoics believed growth is the heartbeat of a good life, and when it stalls, it's time to pay attention. Ready? Let's dive in. When growth stops. Here's something the Stoics loved to talk about. Pause. Growth. They saw life as this constant opportunity to get better, to learn, to stretch yourself into someone wiser, kinder, and more resilient with every step you take. It wasn't about reaching some perfect finish line. No, they weren't chasing some unattainable trophy or a flawless version of themselves. Instead, it was about the journey, the daily chance to refine who you are, to chip away at the rough edges and uncover the best parts of your character. For them, every moment was a classroom, every challenge a teacher, and every interaction a chance to evolve. And relationships. They're supposed to help with that. The Stoics believed the people in your life should be partners in that growth, not just bystanders watching you struggle or spectators cheering from the sidelines. They saw relationships as a shared mission, a collaborative effort where both of you are working towards something greater. Seneca and Epictetus even had a term for it, synergia, this beautiful idea of working together to lift each other up, like 2 climbers roped together on a steep mountain, each pulling the other toward the summit with every step. A good relationship challenges you to step out of your comfort zone, pushes you to face fears you didn't know you had, and supports you when you stumble, catching you before you fall. It helps you grow into the person you want to be, someone who embodies virtues like courage, wisdom, and compassion, traits that shine through in how you live and love. It's a dynamic dance, where both of you push and pull in a way that makes you better together, creating a rhythm that builds strength and purpose in both hearts. But what happens when that's not happening? Pause. Maybe you feel stuck, like you're spinning your wheels in the same old mud, not moving forward at all, just kicking up dirt and going nowhere fast. Or maybe the other person isn't cheering you on, there's no encouragement, no spark to light your ambition, no voice saying, "You've got this." Instead of feeling inspired, you might notice a quiet stagnation setting in, a sense that you're plateauing while the world keeps turning, leaving you behind in a haze of sameness. It could be a friend who's content to stay in the same rut, happy to rehash the same old complaints without ever seeking change, or a partner who doesn't care about your dreams, shrugging off your passions like they're unimportant. That lack of growth can creep up on you slowly, like a shadow lengthening as the day fades, leaving you wondering why you don't feel as alive as you used to, why the fire that once burned in you seems to flicker and dim. The Stoics would say that's a problem, a big one. Relationships should be a space where you both help each other aim higher, where the connection fuels your progress, not holds it back like an anchor dragging you into shallow waters. I've been there myself. Pause. I had a friend group once where no one really pushed each other. We'd just hang out, complain about work or life, and settle into the same old patterns. Pizza nights with the same toppings, same stories retold until they lost their charm, same gripes about the world that never seemed to change. It felt comfortable, like a cozy blanket on a cold day, wrapping us in familiarity, and for a while, that was enough. I didn't mind the routine. It was easy, predictable, a safe harbor in a stormy sea. But over time, I realized I wasn't growing. I wasn't learning new things, facing new challenges, or becoming the person I wanted to be. Someone bolder, more curious, more alive. We weren't lifting each other up. We were just treading water, keeping each other company in a stagnant pool, floating aimlessly without a destination. It wasn't bad, not in a dramatic sense, but it wasn't good either, and I started to feel this quiet restlessness, like I was missing out on something bigger, a life full of possibility just beyond my reach. The Stoics would say that's a red flag, a bright, waving warning that relationships should be a catalyst for growth, a place where you both stretch toward virtue and purpose, not a cozy trap that keeps you stuck in a loop of mediocrity. So, what do you do when you sense that growth has stopped? The Stoics offer a thoughtful path forward. Pause. Start by talking. Open up about your goals, the things you want to achieve, or the person you're aiming to become, and ask for their support. Share your dreams, your hopes, the vision you have for yourself, and see if they're willing to grow with you, to join you on that upward climb toward a better version of both of you. I tried that with my friend group, suggesting we try new activities, like hiking or a book club, or share some personal goals to inspire each other, to light a spark that could lift us all higher. Some were open to it, nodding along with excitement, ready to step into that challenge with me, but others weren't, brushing it off with a laugh or a shrug, content to stay where we were. That's when I saw the divide. Some were partners in my growth, while others were anchors keeping me in place. If they're holding you back, maybe they dismiss your ambitions with a quick, "That's silly," or resist change with a stubborn, "Why fix what isn't broken?" Or if there's no mutual encouragement, where you're the only one pushing forward while they sit back, it might be time to step away. This isn't about abandoning people or throwing them under the bus with a dramatic exit. It's about choosing connections that help you flourish, that align with the Stoic vision of a life well lived, rich with meaning and progress. I started spending more time with people who challenged me, who cheered my progress with genuine enthusiasm, and it felt like a breath of fresh air, like I could finally stretch my wings and soar toward something greater. That brings us to our next sign: selfishness. Pause, because when growth stalls, it's often tied to someone putting their own needs first, leaving little room for your development. Let's explore what that looks like next, digging into how it shifts the balance of a relationship. Ready? Let's keep going. When selfishness takes over. Let's talk about balance. Pause, because relationships should feel fair, right? They should have that sweet rhythm where both people feel seen, valued, and supported, like a dance where each partner moves in harmony with the other, their steps perfectly in sync, creating a beautiful flow that feels effortless. You know that feeling, when you're both giving and receiving in a way that makes you feel cherished, like you're part of something bigger than just yourself. The Stoics were all about this kind of reciprocity, giving and taking in a way that feels good for both people, creating a connection that lifts you both up, like a rising tide that carries two boats together. They believed in generosity, fairness, and looking out for each other's well-being as much as your own, seeing it as a cornerstone of living a virtuous life. For them, a relationship wasn't just about what you can get. It was about what you can give, too, building a mutual bond that strengthens everyone involved, weaving a tapestry of trust and care that holds you both steady. It's not a transaction, but a shared journey where both people flourish, growing stronger and wiser through the support they offer each other. The Stoics saw this as essential to a life well lived, a reflection of virtues like justice and kindness that should shine through in every interaction. But what happens when someone's always putting themselves first, turning that dance into a solo act where they're the only one in the spotlight? Pause. Maybe they only call when they need something, a favor, a ride, a shoulder to cry on, showing up at your door only when it suits them, their voice full of urgency but never gratitude. Or they never consider your feelings, brushing them aside like they're an inconvenience, a minor detail not worth their time. You might try to share how you're feeling. Maybe you're overwhelmed or need a little understanding, but they wave it off, saying, "You'll be fine," or worse, they don't even acknowledge it, changing the subject to something about them. That kind of selfishness throws everything off, disrupting the rhythm of your connection, leaving you feeling resentful instead of connected, Like you're giving your all to a friendship that's leaving you empty-handed, your efforts vanishing into a void. You start to feel like a resource rather than a person, like they're dipping into your well of energy without ever bothering to refill it, and that imbalance can weigh heavy on your heart, making you question the whole relationship. I felt that imbalance firsthand. Pause. I had a friend who'd always expect me to drop everything for them, no matter what was going on in my life. If they needed help moving, I was there with boxes in hand, hauling furniture up 3 flights of stairs without a second thought. If they were upset, maybe a bad day at work or a fight with their partner, I'd listen for hours, letting them pour out their frustrations while I offered comfort, nodding along, passing them tissues, trying to be the rock they needed. But when I needed support, when I was the one struggling with a rough patch or just wanted to share something big, like a new goal I was excited about, they were nowhere to be found. I'd reach out, hoping for that same care, maybe a quick call to vent or a moment to celebrate, only to get a vague excuse, "Oh, I'm busy," or worse, radio silence, my messages left unanswered, my calls unreturned. It felt so one-sided, like I was pouring water into a bucket with a hole in it, watching my efforts leak away while they kept coming back for more, never noticing how empty I was starting to feel. Over time, I started to pull back, because resentment crept in, souring the good memories we'd had, the laughter and late-night talks that once felt so warm. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being taken for granted, that my loyalty and care were expected but never reciprocated. It wasn't just annoying, it hurt, deep in my chest, because I'd always shown up for them without hesitation, giving my all, while they couldn't even meet me halfway. The Stoics would say that's the right move to step back. They believed relationships should be a two-way street, a shared path where both people contribute, not a one-way drain that leaves you depleted and unappreciated, your spirit dimmed by the weight of their disregard. So, what do you do when selfishness starts tipping the scales, throwing off that delicate balance you crave? The Stoics offer a thoughtful way forward. Pause. Try talking it out. Approach it with a calm heart, explaining how their actions make you feel without pointing fingers or escalating into a fight, keeping your tone steady and your words kind but firm. Maybe they don't even realize the impact they're having. Sometimes people get caught up in their own world, so wrapped up in their needs that they don't see the bigger picture, the way their actions ripple out to affect you. I did that with my friend, sitting them down one day in a quiet moment, away from distractions, and saying, "Hey, I love being there for you, but it feels uneven when I need you and you're not around. It makes me feel like I don't matter as much, and I don't think that's what you want. Can we work on that?" They listened, their eyes softening a bit, and for a little while, things shifted. They'd check in more, show up when I asked, even asking how I was doing with a sincerity I hadn't seen before. But the Stoics also knew that change isn't guaranteed, that some people are too entrenched in their ways to shift, no matter how clearly you lay it out. If the selfishness keeps going, if they keep taking without giving, showing no effort to balance the scales, they'd say it's okay to walk away. It's not about holding a grudge or being petty, seeking some kind of revenge. It's about recognizing your worth and choosing balance over a relationship that leaves you feeling used, like a tool instead of a friend. You deserve that balance, that sense of fairness where your efforts are matched, where you're not left carrying the load alone, your arms aching from the weight of their needs. The Stoics would see walking away as an act of self-respect, a way to protect your energy and invest it in connections that honor the reciprocity they valued, where both people give as much as they take, creating a bond that feels like a warm embrace. I eventually scaled back with that friend, focusing on people who met me halfway, who showed up for me as much as I did for them, and it felt like a weight lifted, like I could finally breathe again. It wasn't easy. There was guilt at first, a nagging voice asking if I was being too harsh, but it opened space for relationships that felt mutual and fulfilling, where I felt seen and valued for who I was, not just what I could do. The Stoics would applaud that choice, encouraging you to seek out bonds that reflect their ideals of justice and generosity, not ones that drain your spirit and leave you hollow. Next up, let's talk about how you're talking, or not talking. Pause, because the words you share or don't share can make or break a relationship's balance. The Stoics had a lot to say about communication, about using words to build rather than break, and we'll dive into that next to see how it fits into this journey of creating better connections. Let's keep going. When communication turns toxic. Communication, it's the lifeblood of any relationship, right? Pause. It's the thread that weaves two people together, the invisible cord that binds you through every shared moment, whether you're sharing laughter with a friend over a silly inside joke, hashing out plans with a partner about your next big adventure, or just catching up with a family member about the little things that fill your days. When it's good, it feels effortless, like a warm current carrying you closer, gently pulling you toward a deeper connection where you feel truly understood and seen. You know that feeling, when the words flow naturally, when you're both on the same wavelength, and the conversation leaves you feeling lighter, more connected, like you're part of something truly special. But the Stoics had a deeper take on this. They believed our words should reflect our values: kindness, fairness, and wisdom. They wanted us to speak in ways that build people up, not tear them down, seeing every conversation as a chance to practice virtue and strengthen our bonds, to embody the principles they held dear. Your words should be a bridge, connecting you to others with understanding and respect, a sturdy path that invites mutual growth and trust, not a wall that divides, leaving you isolated on the other side. For the Stoics, communication wasn't just about exchanging ideas. It was about creating a space where both people could flourish, where every word spoken was a reflection of a life lived with integrity and care. But what happens when communication goes sour, when that warm current turns cold and choppy? Pause. Maybe someone's always criticizing you, pointing out your flaws like they're keeping score in some invisible game you didn't sign up for, their words sharp and cutting, leaving you feeling judged rather than supported. Or they throw sarcasm your way, those sharp little jabs disguised as humor, each one landing like a tiny dagger. "Oh, nice try, but maybe leave it to the pros next time," leaving you stung, the sting lingering long after the laughter fades. Perhaps they belittle your ideas, dismissing your thoughts with a smirk or an eye roll, as if what you have to say isn't worth the air it takes to speak it, making you feel like your voice doesn't matter. That kind of negativity doesn't just hurt in the moment. It chips away at the trust and respect that hold a relationship together, eroding the foundation bit by bit, like water wearing down a stone until there's nothing left but jagged edges. Over time, you're left feeling disconnected and raw, like the warmth you once shared has been replaced by a cold distance, a chasm you can't seem to bridge no matter how hard you try. The Stoics would say that's a serious issue. Communication should be a tool for building each other up, not a weapon that tears you apart, leaving you wounded and wary. I felt that sting myself. Pause. I had a relative who'd always make snarky comments about my choices, like my career path or hobbies, their words laced with a bitterness I couldn't quite place. I'd share something I was excited about, maybe a new project I was working on, pouring my heart into every detail, or a hobby I'd picked up, like painting or gardening, something that brought me joy, and they'd respond with, "Oh, you're still doing that? Don't you think it's time to get serious? Shouldn't you focus on something more practical?" Their tone dripped with sarcasm, each word a little jab that landed like a punch to the gut, knocking the wind out of my enthusiasm. At first, I'd brush it off, telling myself they were just teasing, that they didn't mean any harm, but it kept happening, over and over, like a broken record stuck on a hurtful note. I started to dread talking to them, my stomach knotting up at the thought of another conversation. Every interaction felt like walking through a minefield. I'd brace myself for the next jab, wondering what I'd say to set them off, tiptoeing around topics I thought might trigger their scorn. It wasn't just annoying, it made me feel small, like my passions and choices didn't matter, like I was foolish for even trying. The Stoics would say that's not okay. Our words should lift each other up, even when we disagree, creating a space where both people can thrive, not shrink, a space where you feel safe to be yourself, not judged for it. So, what can you do when communication turns toxic like that, when every word feels like a potential wound? The Stoics offer a wise, grounded approach. Pause. Start by focusing on your own words, because change often begins with you. Before you point fingers, make sure you're speaking with kindness and clarity, reflecting the values you want to see in a relationship, embodying the Stoic ideals of fairness and wisdom in every sentence. I had to check myself with that relative. Sometimes I'd snap back defensively, my frustration boiling over into sharp retorts that only made things worse, escalating the tension into a full-blown argument. So I worked on staying calm, choosing my words carefully to keep things constructive, focusing on understanding rather than winning. Then, try to shift the dynamic. Listen actively, really hear where they're coming from, putting yourself in their shoes to understand their perspective, and aim to connect rather than argue. Address issues without blame, focusing on how their words make you feel, speaking from the heart without accusation. I tried that, sitting them down one quiet afternoon and saying, "Hey, when you make those comments about my choices, it feels like you're putting me down, and that hurts. I want us to be able to share things without it feeling like a judgment." They didn't always hear me, sometimes brushing it off with a quick, "I didn't mean it like that," but other times, it opened the door to better conversations, moments where they'd pause, reflect, and soften their tone, even if just for a little while. But if the negativity keeps coming, if they keep criticizing, mocking, or dismissing you, and it's dragging you down, pulling you into a spiral of self-doubt and frustration, the Stoics would say it's time to protect your peace. They valued tranquility as a cornerstone of a good life, a calm inner state that lets you live with clarity and purpose, and they'd urge you to guard it fiercely, like a precious flame in a storm. Sometimes, that means stepping back, choosing tranquility over constant conflict, prioritizing your well-being over a relationship that's become a battlefield. I had to limit my time with that relative, keeping our talks short and surface level to avoid the snark, sticking to safe topics like the weather or family updates, and it helped me feel lighter, more grounded, like I could breathe without bracing for the next hit. The Stoics would see that as a wise choice, not running away or giving up, but prioritizing your well-being over a dynamic that's tearing you apart, choosing peace over pain. That leads us to our next sign: when your needs are ignored, pause, because toxic communication often goes hand in hand with someone overlooking what you need to feel valued and respected, dismissing your feelings as if they don't matter. The Stoics had a lot to say about honoring your own worth, about standing firm in your value, and we'll explore that next to see how it fits into this journey of building better relationships. Let's keep going. When your needs don't matter. Let's talk about your needs. Pause, because you matter, and the Stoics would agree, nodding from their ancient perch with a firm, absolutely. They were big on self-respect and harmony, believing that healthy relationships are built on mutual care, a kind of give and take that feels like a warm embrace on both sides, wrapping you and your partner in a shared sense of value and support. That means your needs, your boundaries, your feelings, the things that keep you grounded and whole, like a quiet moment to recharge or the space to express your emotions, should be honored, not brushed off like they're an afterthought, a minor detail in someone else's story. It's about creating a space where both people feel seen and valued, where you're not just a supporting character in someone else's narrative, quietly nodding along while they take center stage, but a co-star with your own lines to speak, your voice carrying as much weight as theirs. The Stoics saw this as essential to living a virtuous life, because how can you grow in wisdom and kindness, how can you embody the qualities they cherished, if you're constantly pushed aside, your voice drowned out by their indifference or demands? For them, a relationship was a partnership where both souls thrive, where your needs are as important as theirs, a delicate balance that reflects the harmony they sought in all things. But what happens when someone consistently ignores what you need, when that balance tips and leaves you feeling unseen? Pause. Maybe they overstep your boundaries, barging into your personal space, emotional or physical, without a second thought, acting as if your limits are invisible or irrelevant. Perhaps they make decisions without asking, steamrolling over your input like it doesn't count, leaving you out of the loop on choices that affect you both. Or they dismiss your feelings entirely, treating them like an inconvenience, shrugging off your concerns with a quick, "you're overreacting," or ignoring your pleas for understanding altogether. It's like they're saying you don't matter, that your presence is secondary, and that can leave you feeling invisible, like a ghost in your own life, fading into the background as they fill the foreground with their own needs and wants. That sense of being overlooked can erode your confidence, making you question your worth, wondering why your voice doesn't seem to reach them, why your needs don't register on their radar. The Stoics would call that a breach of the mutual care they valued, a disruption of the harmony that should define your connections, leaving you adrift in a relationship that no longer serves your well-being. I felt that invisibility myself. Pause. I had a friend who'd always push me to do things I wasn't comfortable with, like going out to loud, crowded places when I really needed a quiet night in to recharge, to gather my thoughts and find my center again. I'd tell them, "I'm not up for it tonight. I just need some calm, some space to breathe," my voice steady but firm, hoping they'd hear me. But they'd brush off my no like it didn't mean anything, saying, "Oh, come on, don't be boring, you'll have fun," with a laugh that felt more dismissive than encouraging, as if my need for peace was a personal failing. At first, I'd cave, thinking I should just go along to keep the peace, to avoid the awkwardness of saying no again, so I'd drag myself out, surrounded by noise and chaos, my energy draining with every minute. But I'd come home exhausted, frustrated, and honestly a little resentful, my mind buzzing with irritation at how my needs had been sidelined. It wasn't just about the plans, it was the message behind it. My needs, my comfort, my desire for balance didn't seem to register on their radar, like they couldn't see the toll it took on me. Over time, I started feeling like I was shrinking in that friendship, like my voice wasn't worth hearing, my boundaries a faint whisper they chose to ignore. The Stoics would say that's a problem, a big one. They'd argue that it's not selfish to want your needs respected. It's self-care, a vital part of honoring your own worth and keeping your inner harmony intact, a principle as fundamental as breathing. You're not asking for too much by wanting to be heard. You're asking for the bare minimum of a healthy relationship, a foundation where both people's needs are held with equal care. So, How do you handle it when someone keeps ignoring your needs, when that sense of invisibility starts to weigh you down? The Stoics would guide you with their calm, rational approach. Pause. Start by being clear. Tell them what you need and why it matters, laying it out with honesty and without apology, your words a beacon of self-respect shining through. Be specific, painting a picture of how their actions affect you, because sometimes people don't realize the impact of their choices until you spell it out with clarity and care. I tried that with my friend, sitting them down one evening when the air was still and quiet, saying, "Hey, when I say I need a quiet night, it's not just a preference, it's what keeps me balanced, what helps me show up as my best self. Can you respect that next time?" My voice was steady, my intent clear, and they nodded, their expressions softening as they took it in. They might agree, they might even promise to do better, but the Stoics would also say to watch what happens next, to observe their actions rather than just their words. If they keep ignoring you, if they keep pushing, dismissing your boundaries, or acting like your needs are a burden, a weight they're unwilling to carry, it's a sign the relationship isn't aligned with the mutual care they valued, a signal that the harmony has been lost. In that case, the Stoics would say it's time to rethink the relationship entirely, to step back and reassess whether it serves your growth and peace. It's not about being dramatic or holding a grudge, seeking some petty revenge. It's about recognizing that you deserve to be around people who value you, who see your needs as important, not ones who make you feel small or insignificant, a shadow in their light. I ended up pulling back from that friend, setting firmer boundaries by saying no more often and sticking to it, spending more time with people who listened when I spoke up, who honored my needs with the same care I offered them. It felt liberating, like I was reclaiming my voice, stepping back into the spotlight of my own life with confidence and clarity. The Stoics would see that as a win, a step toward a life where your relationships reflect the harmony and respect they championed, where you're not just surviving but thriving in the company of those who lift you up. That brings us to our final sign, accountability, or the lack of it. Pause, because when your needs aren't honored, it often ties to someone not taking responsibility for their actions, leaving the balance unsettled. Let's explore that next and see what the Stoics have to say about it, how their wisdom can guide you to a place of strength and peace. Ready? Let's keep going. When accountability disappears. Last one. Pause. Let's talk about accountability, because it's the glue that keeps relationships strong, the invisible thread that holds everything together when the going gets tough, like a lifeline you can rely on no matter the storm. The Stoics believed we should own our actions, take responsibility when we mess up, and make things right, seeing it as a cornerstone of living with integrity, a reflection of the virtues they held dear: honesty, justice, and courage. For them, accountability wasn't just a nice-to-have, it was a duty, a way to show respect for yourself and others, ensuring that your actions align with your values. That goes both ways in relationship. It's about mutual trust and respect, where both people step up and own their part, creating a bond that can weather any storm, from small misunderstandings to major conflicts. Accountability isn't just about saying, "sorry," and moving on. It's about showing you care enough to fix what's broken, to mend the cracks in your connection with sincerity and effort, keeping the relationship solid and strong. It's the promise that you'll show up, not just in the good times, but in the messy ones too, ready to repair and rebuild together, ensuring that your bond grows deeper through the process, not weaker. But what happens when someone never takes accountability, when that glue starts to dissolve? Pause. Maybe they mess up, forgetting plans you'd made together, leaving you waiting at a cafe with a cold cup of coffee, or saying something hurtful in the heat of the moment, their words cutting deeper than they realize. But instead of owning it, they deflect, pointing fingers at you, turning the situation around with a quick, "well, you should have reminded me," or "you're too sensitive," as if their mistake is your fault. Or they blame you outright, twisting the narrative to avoid responsibility, making you feel like you're the one who's wrong, even when you know you're not. Worse still, they might act like it didn't happen at all, brushing off your attempts to talk about it, leaving the issue hanging in the air like a storm cloud, dark and heavy, casting a shadow over every interaction. That leaves you feeling unheard, like your perspective doesn't count, your voice lost in the wind as they refuse to engage. Over time, it erodes the foundation of your connection, turning closeness into a fragile shell, a hollow echo of what you once had, where trust and intimacy are replaced by doubt and distance. The Stoics would see that as a betrayal of the mutual respect they valued, a crack in the relationship that, if left unaddressed, could shatter it entirely. I've been in that frustrating spot myself. Pause. I had a partner once who'd always make excuses instead of apologizing, and it drove me up the wall. If they were late, it was somehow my fault for not reminding them, even though we'd agreed on the time days before. I'd say, "Let's meet at 6, and they'd nod, but when 6:30 rolled around and they still weren't there, I'd get a text, "You should have texted me to confirm." It was like they couldn't even entertain the idea that they'd dropped the ball, and I'd end up feeling guilty, second-guessing myself as I sat there alone, watching the minutes tick by. Or if they said something hurtful, like snapping at me during a stressful day, their words sharp and biting, I'd bring it up, hoping for an apology, but they'd twist it around, saying, "You're overreacting, I didn't mean it like that," dismissing my feelings like they were irrelevant. All I wanted was for them to own it, to say, "I messed up, I'm sorry," so we could move forward, clear the air, and get back on track, rebuilding the trust that had been shaken. But instead, I'd feel stuck, replaying the moment in my head, wondering if I was the one overreacting, if I was asking for too much. The excuses piled up: traffic, work, a busy schedule, anything but a simple "I messed up," and it chipped away at my trust, each deflection another crack in the foundation of our relationship. The Stoics would say that's a big issue. Relationships should help you grow, offering a space to learn and improve together, where mistakes are opportunities for understanding, not excuses to point fingers. When accountability disappears, you're left in a loop of misunderstandings and unresolved tension, a cycle that keeps you stuck instead of moving forward together. So, what do you do when accountability disappears, when that invisible thread starts to fray? The Stoics offer a practical path forward. Pause. Try talking it out, because communication is often the first step toward healing. Set clear expectations about what accountability looks like in your relationship. Maybe it's owning a mistake with a sincere apology, not just a half-hearted "sorry" tossed out to end the conversation, but a genuine acknowledgement of the hurt caused. Or maybe it's making an effort to change, showing through actions that they're committed to doing better, like being on time or choosing their words more carefully. Agree on it together, like a shared promise, a pact that strengthens your bond by ensuring you're both on the same page. I did that with my partner, sitting them down one evening after another misplan, my heart heavy but my voice calm, and saying, "When you make excuses instead of owning it, it makes me feel like my feelings don't matter, like I can't rely on you. Can we agree to just be honest when we mess up, to take responsibility so we can move forward together?" They nodded, their eyes meeting mine with a flicker of understanding, and for a bit, it helped. They'd apologize more readily, make an effort to show up on time, and our conversations felt lighter, more honest. But the Stoics also knew that promises aren't always kept, that some people struggle to change, even when they mean to. If they can't step up, if the deflection or blame keeps coming, if they continue to dodge responsibility despite your efforts to bridge the gap, the Stoics would say it's time to walk away. It's not about giving up easily or walking out at the first sign of trouble. It's about knowing you deserve relationships where both people show up fully, ready to take responsibility and build something real, a connection grounded in trust and mutual respect, not excuses and avoidance. You deserve that kind of relationship, one where accountability isn't a battle but a shared value, where both people are willing to own their mistakes and grow from them, creating a bond that's resilient and true. The Stoics would see walking away from a relationship lacking accountability as an act of self-respect, a way to honor your worth and protect your peace, ensuring that your energy is invested in connections that reflect the integrity they championed. Let's wrap this up with what it all means. Pause, because these signs we've explored, growth stalling, selfishness, toxic communication, ignored needs, and now the absence of accountability, they point to a bigger truth about living well, a truth the Stoics understood deeply, and we'll explore that next to bring it all together. Ready? Let's keep going. The Stoic path to flourishing relationships. So, what does all of this mean? Pause. Let's step back and look at the bigger picture, because these 5 signs, when growth stops, when selfishness takes over, when communication turns toxic, when your needs don't matter, and when accountability disappears, they're not just random red flags popping up like weeds in a garden. They're guideposts, shining beacons that show you where your relationships might be out of alignment with the Stoic vision of a good life, a life rich with purpose and meaning. The Stoics believed that the people around you should help you live with virtue, wisdom to navigate life's challenges, justice to treat others fairly, courage to face your fears, and temperance to keep your emotions in check. They saw relationships as partners in your journey toward becoming the best version of yourself, like fellow travelers walking beside you, offering a hand when you stumble and cheering you on as you climb higher. They should be a source of strength, not obstacles that hold you back, dragging you into a rut when you're meant to soar. And when that's not happening, when the signs start piling up, it's a signal to take a hard look at those connections and ask, are they helping me flourish, lifting me toward a life of growth and fulfillment? Or are they keeping me stuck, tethering me to a place where I can't breathe, can't thrive? Each of these signs comes with a Stoic solution. Pause. A roadmap to guide you back to balance and peace. Start by talking, always, because the Stoics knew the power of open, honest dialogue. Share your goals, the dreams that light a fire in your heart, your feelings when something feels off, your needs that keep you grounded, and see if the other person is willing to meet you halfway, to step into that shared space with you. Try to shift the dynamic, whether it's encouraging growth by inviting them to join you in new challenges, asking for fairness when the scales tip too far, or modeling better communication with words that build rather than break. The Stoics believed in action within your control, and this is where you start, planting seeds of change with your own efforts. But they also knew that not every relationship can be saved, that some bonds are too tangled to untangle, and that's okay. They embraced the reality of letting go when necessary. If someone consistently holds you back, refusing to support your growth, takes without giving, leaving you empty-handed, tears you down with every word, ignores your needs like they're invisible, or refuses to take responsibility, dodging accountability like it's a game, it's time to protect your peace. Step back, set boundaries to shield your energy, or even walk away if you need to, creating space for new connections. It's not about abandoning people with a cold shoulder or throwing them aside in anger. It's about choosing connections that align with your values, that help you grow into the person you want to be, a person who lives with virtue and finds tranquility in their choices. I've had to make those tough choices in my own life. Pause. And it's been a journey of its own. Whether it was pulling back from that stagnant friend group, where our gatherings turned into a loop of sameness that dulled my spirit, setting boundaries with that selfish friend who only called when they needed something, limiting time with that snarky relative whose words cut deeper than intended, or rethinking friendships where my needs were ignored, overlooked like a whisper in a storm, I faced those moments head-on. Even with that partner who wouldn't take accountability, always deflecting with excuses that left me questioning myself, I had to decide what I deserved, a relationship built on trust or one crumbling under avoidance. And every time I made those choices, I felt lighter, more aligned with the Stoic ideals of living with virtue and tranquility, like a weight I didn't know I was carrying had been lifted. It's not always easy. There's guilt, that nagging voice wondering if I'm being too harsh, there's sadness at letting go of what once was, the memories that still linger, but it's worth it. Because on the other side, I found relationships that truly lifted me up, that made me feel seen, valued, and inspired to keep growing, like a garden blooming with new life after a long winter. So, I want to leave you with a challenge. Pause. Take a moment today to think about the relationships in your life, the people who fill your days with laughter or tension. Are there any of these signs showing up, creeping into your connections like shadows you can't ignore? Maybe it's a friend who's stopped challenging you, a partner who takes more than they give, a family member whose words sting, or someone who overlooks your needs or dodges responsibility. And if so, what can you do about it? Maybe it's a conversation you've been putting off, a heart-to-heart where you lay out your hopes and concerns, or maybe it's time to set some boundaries, drawing a line to protect your peace. Whatever it is, channel the Stoics. Focus on what you can control, which is your own actions and choices, your responses and decisions, and let that guide you toward connections that help you flourish, that nurture your spirit and align with the life you want to lead. Take that first step, however small, and trust that it's enough to start the journey toward better bonds. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Stoic wisdom. Pause. I hope it's given you some clarity, a flashlight to shine on the corners of your relationships, and tools to build better connections, ones that reflect the virtues the Stoics cherished. If you found this helpful, give this video a like to let me know it resonated, share it with someone who might need to hear this, someone grappling with their own relationships, and subscribe for more deep dives into living a wiser, more fulfilling life, where we explore the timeless lessons that can shape our days. Until next time, stay strong, holding on to your resilience, stay wise, seeking understanding in every moment, and live stoically, walking the path of virtue with every step. Let's keep growing together, building a community of people who lift each other up, who thrive in the light of these ancient truths. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.